Here we go. Here we go. Um, we're gonna do my WWE Night of Champions 2026 review. This will be a live stream of the pay-per-view that just came on earlier today. It was in Saudi Arabia. Um, this is Jacob Cat 2024. Hit that like button, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all support. This video was sponsored by PlayStation. It was sponsored by Chris Mood, The Rad Brand, Nova, and Typical Gamer, and my favorite podcasters and YouTubers, JD from New York, Fightful Pro Wrestling, Good My Work Commentary, Salamaster Sound Off, Denise Salcedo, Joe Cronin, and other podcasters that I know of. Now, this will be like an hour and 10 minutes. We're going to talk about Night of Champions 2026 pay-per-view. We'll talk about what happened on the show. And then we'll go through the masses. Now, I'm starting the show late today at 9:40 because I just came back from a funeral. As you know, my dad passed away a couple weeks ago. We went to raise a funeral in Boston. I was at the wake. I saw my dad in a casket. Saw his family, his wife. I saw my sister, my cousins and uncles and aunties. Very long funeral, about 2 hours. Very sad. After we had a funeral, that point we all went out to eat at the bar. Unfortunately, my dad won't be buried. They said he had to be cremated because they can't afford the funeral. So they just did the whole funeral in the church to say our goodbyes and talk about our great memory with him. And then they said it was cremated, where he might have like maybe his acid might be in an urn or something like that. But yeah, I just want to thank my friends, my family, my viewers, and my podcaster, my YouTuber that I know for all the love and support from me when I'm going through with me and my family and my dad's family. So yeah. So that's why I didn't do my live stream earlier to talk about WWE because I was at the funeral home. But we are going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about what happened earlier on the pay-per-view. We're going to go through the matches, and then I'll show y'all some of the podcasters. Now, I thought the pay-per-view was fine. It was decent. I thought the pay-per-view was alright. Was it a good show? A little bit better. I thought the show opened up with the King and Queen of the Ring. Surprising to just open the show. Like I said, there were 6 matches on the card. They had some promo packages. I think the longest promo package was the main event between Cody, Gunther, and Sami. Now, Obafemi is crowned King of the Ring. He beat Jey Uso in the opening match. Io Sky defeated Liv Morgan, and she chooses Liv Morgan for SummerSlam for the Women's World Championship. Liv Morgan slapped Danhausen. So, Io Sky and Liv Morgan will be for SummerSlam. They already confirmed it. Now, we will get into that. Don't know why we should care about seeing the match after seeing it on the pay-per-view. I don't know why Liv Morgan was determined to begin with. If they don't have no challenger for her. Now, we did get Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in a steel cage. Rollins got the victory. He had a curve stomp off the top rope. Or the second rope, and he beat Braun Breaker. Hopefully they end the feud and move on with this vision shit in the storyline. But Rollins and Breaker had a very good match, a brutal match that culminated their feud. And then we got Trick Williams versus Ricky Saint for the United States title. Trick Williams got the victory. Decent match. Match was fine. Williams retained the title. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I believe Tiffany retains here. Did she? I think she retained. Match was fine or whatever. But then the main event, which was Sami Zayn, Gunther and Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship match. A great main event and a shocking ending that some fans did not expect. Sami Zayn is the new WWE Champion. Sami Zayn celebrated after winning the title. He was on the post show. After the match was over, Gunther and Nick Aldis get into a intense confrontation for some reason. Okay, yeah, so I thought this was very, very good here. Yeah. Now, thought the paper was fine. It was very decent. I got a lot to talk about. Sami Zayn winning the title. That's gonna be the most topic, the most big topic on this video, on this live stream. Sami Zayn finally a world champion, wins the first WWE champion after all this time. Okay. Might as well just show it.
This new guy I just hired. Check out his resume. He's been driving forklift longer than you've been alive.
Say that it was the worst show I ever saw, but the show was fucking terrible. 2 matches out of 6 that really did anything for me. It really got my blood going. Outside that, it was a massive thumbs down show with 2 very good creative decisions. One being Sami Zayn being the WWE champion. The other is Obafemi, clean as a whistle. No interference, no bullshit, no bloodline, no Lesnar. Obafemi, fall from grace on Jey Uso. He's the 2026 King of the Ring. And we got a bomb coming in here. Look at this guy, man. Everybody's excited. We got my guy KMG coming in here with a $100 super chat. He says, I'm absolutely speechless. This show mainly was empty feeling. With Sami Zayn winning the WWE Championship was absolutely amazing and the right call, plain and simple. Much love, OTS for life. KMG, thank you, brother. VIP through and through is my guy, KMG. Thank you for coming through, man. I'm going to read this one, too, because this guy clearly is a fucking idiot. $2 super chat. His poor Enschel with a $2 super chat. He says, So you enjoy impulse booking. You support impulse booking. Okay, Vince Russo. This is not impulse booking, you fucking cretin. This has been building over the last 2.5 months. This isn't impulse booking. This is storyline being paid off. Now, what's to come after this, I don't know. I'll get into that in a little bit. This is anything but impulse booking. This is a storyline and a character getting his payoff. You strike while the iron is hot. You missed 9 times before this with Sami Zayn. This was the 10th time. And they absolutely made the right call. Get this guy the fuck out of my chat. Get him out. Absolutely ridiculous. This is exactly the reaction I want. This is exactly the reaction I want. And when I put something out there for weeks and people shit on me for it, only to then find out that everybody ends up doing the same thing and saying the same thing that I've been saying for weeks prior, motherfucker, you know I'm gonna gloat. You know I'm gonna gloat. I'm gonna pat myself on the back like good old Barry Horowitz on that one. This was the right call. This was the right call. I'm not the only one that had this idea. I doubt I'm the only one that had this idea, but I knew it was the right idea, which is why I said it weeks ago. This was the right call. The Sami Zayn hate is absolutely forced. I'm genuinely in that camp. Whatever your feeling is on Sami Zayn politically, I don't give a fuck. You don't bring that shit to me. I don't care. We leave that shit at the door. You want to hate him for political reasons? By all means, go hate him for whatever he politically believes in. I'm talking about Sami Zayn, the performer, the character that we see on television. I don't give a fuck about anything else he does in his entire life. I don't give a shit. We're talking about Sami Zayn. 2013, Sami Zayn. El Generico. Sami Zayn is born. He removes the mask. WWE signed him to NXT, which was a developmental brand through and through for WWE. Back in 2013, he debuted without the mask. They gave him the ridiculous name at the time, Sami Zayn. Presented him as the blue-collar underdog. Very similar to one Daniel Bryan. He made his name on the indies, and nobody knew who he was. He made his name on the indies as a wannabe luchador. Then we go to 2014, NXT. His rivalry with Adrian Neville, now Pac, in AEW. Big NXT championship win. His celebration was cut short, you guys remember? Kevin Owens, powerbomb on the apron, man, those were the days. Those were the days. Kevin Owens, his best friend in real life, debuted and betrayed him, creating one of the most unforgettable moments in the history of the black and gold brand. Loved it. We go to 2016, Sami Zayn still on that babyface run. He's getting closer and closer to being that breakout babyface, Daniel Bryan-like babyface the main roster absolutely needed. Before he got called up to the main roster, he had one last ace up his sleeve. WWE went and scoured the globe to find an opponent to give him his farewell in NXT, and that was the debut of Shinsuke Nakamura. One of the best matches in 2016 at NXT TakeOver Dallas. One of the best modern WWE matches of all time. And if you don't believe that, maybe you didn't watch the match. The match happened that week. I watched it about 6 or 7 times because it was that good. The energy was palpable sitting at home in the Bronx, in New York, watching it live as it happened. I can't imagine how people felt when they were in that building. Then there were the dark days of Sami Zayn. The Vince McMahon era. Vince McMahon took his talons and stuck them in so deep into Sami Zayn that I didn't think it would result in anything except his termination. The conspiracy theorist era, which was awful. He was like a comedy character to Vince McMahon, and this lasted like 3 years, 2017 to 2020. He was a paranoid, anti-authority heel, obsessed with conspiracy theories. He tried to reinvent himself completely. He's a great heel, don't get me wrong, but he's a better babyface. Vince thought that he was a better heel for that moment in time. It was polarizing. It didn't really show us the best version of Sami Zayn, but it showed us how versatile of a performer he is. And he really dipped his toes into being the bad guy for the first time in his WWE run, a complete polar opposite to what they presented him as when they signed him in 2013. He did fine. It just wasn't the Sami Zayn that you, me, and everybody else had high hopes in. The change was too drastic. In 2020, he won his first Intercontinental Championship. Elimination Chamber in March of 2020, Sami Zayn won the IC title, ending a 5-year WWE title drought since winning his first NXT Championship. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. You know, I know Vince has his eye for talent. Sometimes he nailed it, and sometimes he just missed the boat. How Sami Zayn never won a championship on the main roster up until this point is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. I thought he was misbooked and miscast for many, many, many years. He finally won his first IC title, and that was back in March 2020. Then we start getting into seeing who Sami Zayn really is and how dynamic of a performer he is and how important he is to the modern WWE product. 2022 rolls around, and he's donned with the honorary Uce in the bloodline. He is the honorary Uce. He is an outsider in a family of Samoans and they welcome him in with open arms. The most important character and the most important chapter of Sami Zayn's career, and I would be, this may be a hot take to some, Sami Zayn was the most important character in the entire Bloodline story for months, up until he lost to Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber. Without Sami Zayn, the Bloodline story isn't as monumental as it is, which is why I said just minutes ago, the hate for Sami Zayn is absolutely ridiculous. You do realize that without Sami Zayn, the Bloodline story isn't where it is today. You do realize without Sami Zayn, the Bloodline story that you got finished at WrestleMania 40 isn't that without Sami Zayn. Tell me when I'm telling lies. It was never supposed to happen. It was something that happened by happenstance. And then you mean to tell me in 2026, we're now all of a sudden hating on Sami Zayn, yet we're ignoring his contributions to what people are calling the greatest storyline in professional wrestling history. Gotcha. Don't talk to me. Honorary Uso. Obviously, his back and forth with Jey Uso, where Jimmy tried to step in and really kind of calm him down. After months of trying to become a full-fledged Bloodline member, Zayn was shockingly kicked out of the group after refusing to strike Kevin Owens with a steel chair at the Royal Rumble in 2023. A betrayal that left grown men with tears running down their eyes. The last true time we felt any semblance of story in WWE, that emotional, that chair shot was felt by everybody. I'm getting chills even fucking talking about it. WWE has never even come close to recreating that story or letting you feel what's missing from the product, JD. What do you think is missing from the product? All I need to do is pinpoint you 3.5 years ago at the Royal Rumble. That's what's missing from the fucking product. That's what made WWE special. That's what made Triple H different than Vince McMahon. He never did that. Triple H did that. What happened? What happened? Where did all that go? Where did all of it go? I don't know. I don't know. Vince was still running the product there. I would love to know what type of say and what type of hand Vince McMahon had in that moment. Seeing Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens main event of WrestleMania, I don't think really made Vince McMahon happy. That would be the polar opposite of what he would do. But still, it was under the Triple H administration. Whether Vince McMahon was involved or not, I don't really know, or I don't really care. But when was the last time you felt that type of emotion? I think I would be factually correct in saying that a lot more people wanted Sami Zayn to finish his story at the Elimination Chamber that year in February by beating Roman Reigns instead of giving it to Cody Rhodes. That was obviously never going to happen, but Sami Zayn finishing his story and winning the belt from Roman Reigns after betraying Roman Reigns would have been fucking one of the greatest things that this company's ever done. So again, I ask, why all the hate on Sami Zayn? Tremendous. What a fucking moment. WrestleMania 39, they reunited with Kevin Owens. They did that instead. Main event night one. Him and Kevin Owens beat the Usos, won the tag team championships. He's got a WrestleMania main event to his name for the first time ever. Some were saying it's the greatest tag team title match in history. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was good. It was good and very, very much deserved the main event. But no, it wasn't the greatest tag team match of all time, and they really finished a story which was the beginning stages of the Bloodline crumbling. One pillar of the Bloodline crumbled. Roman retained the championship over Cody Rhodes, and they took that into WrestleMania 40. He won the United States Championship. He won the Intercontinental Championship again. That was April 2024 with the IC title. He beat Gunther and ended Gunther's 666-day reign as IC champion. Greatest IC title run of all time. And then in August of 2025, he won the United States Championship when he defeated Solo Sikoa. And then he went on to have the reinvigorated Sami Zayn Open Challenge, which he basically honored John Cena with. Which brings us to tonight. Night of Champions. He beats Cody Rhodes and Gunther for the WWE title. First WWE Championship in the man's career, finally on top of the mountain. The ultimate underdog story finally sees the ultimate payoff 13 years later in WWE. Again, I ask, why the hate for Sami Zayn? Why the hate for Sami Zayn? I don't really understand it. I think a lot of people are upset. The Cody fans are upset that Cody is no longer the WWE champion. But I'm here to tell you that Cody as WWE champion was running stale. It was dry. It was boring. It was very formulaic. None of it was exciting. The only reason why Cody's recent string of shows and recent string of matches were exciting and recent storylines were exciting was Sami Zayn. Sami brought out the best Cody we've seen all year. Sami Zayn brought out the anger, the champion in Cody Rhodes that we have desperately needed to see. Sami Zayn brought out the real story in Cody Rhodes and finally gave Cody Rhodes a story worth being the WWE champion when everything else felt the same. Again, I ask, what's the hate with Sami Zayn? I think we owe a lot to Sami Zayn. I think we owe a lot of respect to Sami Zayn and someone who won the WWE Championship tonight. I think you guys understand that this isn't going to be long for this world. It's not. This is a very temporary thing, like Darby Allin winning the World Championship. Only that was a mistake. They took the belt off MJF and stifled their momentum. This is not going to do anything for WWE's momentum. What this is going to do is create better television for the next 4 weeks going into SummerSlam, which is something that SmackDown needs. Going back to 2 hours, now we got change at the top of the card instead of welcoming this new SmackDown at 2 hours for the rest of the year with the same old shit. You tell me when I'm telling lies. Sami deserved that title win. Everybody upset. I think you're mental. This is going to be a 1 month, 2 month thing tops. I don't even think it lasts past SummerSlam. Honestly. So why are you all upset about Sami Zayn winning the championship? It's not going to last long. It's not going to last long whatsoever. Now, I got my theories. We can easily do Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. We can easily do that's the safe thing to do, which is something I don't really think we should be even discussing right now. Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. I would not mind that main eventing night one. The story's there. They can build upon it. Cody's better chasing. I just don't really give a shit about seeing Cody Rhodes a WWE champion again. He loses it only to win it back, and then do what? Hold it till WrestleMania, and then we're back in this holding pattern with him holding the title hostage. To do what? Drop it to CM Punk. Cody doesn't need the WWE Championship. Cody is one of the reasons why SmackDown has been largely dull for a very long time. Ever since he got there, he hasn't done really anything all that great. His feud with Kevin Owens was great. His feud with McIntyre was decent. But there's really nothing else on SmackDown that you could really point to that says Cody Rhodes has been very good for the brand and very good for the WWE Championship sitting atop the top of the card. He hasn't. He's a face and a corporate puppet, and that's why WWE puts him in that position. It's time we start building the future. It genuinely needs to start happening. I'm talking about the Obafemis, I'm talking about the Blake Monroes, I'm talking about the Javon Evans, I'm talking about the Braun Breakers, I'm talking about all the current crop of talent that WWE is calling up from NXT and placing in prominent positions on the main roster. The way that I see things now, WWE could easily do Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn, but I'm against that. If it happens, it's certainly a main event that I don't mind, but I don't see that boding well for Sami Zayn. Instead, I'm going to urge WWE to go a completely different direction. The rumor right now is CM Punk showing up on July 6th, Monday Night Raw in Chicago. What that means, I don't know. We've heard the rumors of CM Punk moving to Friday Night SmackDown. SmackDown can certainly use someone like CM Punk to inject some life into the dying product that it is on Friday night. Apparently his appearance on July 6th is going to lead to him being moved to Friday Night SmackDown. How? And how are they going to accomplish that? I don't know. He even said, he did some MMA commentary saying that the next show that this MMA promotion did this commentary for, he said, is that a Friday night? I might be busy moving forward on Friday night. He's going to be busy moving forward on Friday night. Which basically Punk loves to kind of humor people and throw some truth into everything he does. The fact that he just kind of let that slip out in the open on that was very on purpose. He's going to be on Friday Night SmackDown. You would think that Punk and Cody would be the direction for the WWE Championship, but you just can't throw CM Punk in a WWE Championship match and have it mean something and have it built in 4 weeks. Something like that needs to marinate. Something like that needs a lot of care. Something like that needs a genuine story. I'm not going to throw CM Punk into a WWE Championship match with Cody Rhodes just because it feels like a big main event for SummerSlam. It's got to mean something. You can't just immediately do that by moving him over from one show to the next and putting him in a match with Cody Rhodes because SummerSlam needs a big match for the main event. I want it to happen, but I want it to be done right. I want it to happen, but I want it to be something that WWE takes their true time with, to have it fleshed out, to have it tell a story, and then the ultimate match means a whole lot more instead of just doing it for the sake of doing it because they need a main event. WWE put the title on Sami Zayn because Sami Zayn's going to be in the main event of SummerSlam. Against who? We just had Obafemi win the WWE King of the Ring. Could we be looking at Obafemi challenging Sami Zayn for the WWE Championship? I mean, they teased it last night. It was one of the little mini pull-aparts they had last night on Friday Night SmackDown. Sami Zayn was in there with Obafemi. Now, it might not sound like a SummerSlam main event to you, but Sami Zayn holding the WWE Championship to drop it to Obafemi in about 5-6 minutes. You crown the new guy the WWE Champion, and you run with him on Friday Night SmackDown as the man. You're building the future. You've now anointed him the future of the company. Why Obafemi and Sami Zayn? Because Cody Rhodes and CM Punk doesn't need the WWE Championship. If you want to do CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, by all means, do it for the WWE Championship. Get this match out of the way. It doesn't need the title. Whoever tells me it needs the title, you're an idiot. It doesn't need the championship. They have a history and they have a story that is worth a singles match one-on-one. For the WWE title, you're going to need to give me a little bit more than that. But for it to be a one-on-one undercard match, mega match for SummerSlam in the next 5 weeks, that's more than enough time to build tension between the former champion and someone who clearly wants to be the WWE champion, without the title being a hindrance to them. I also feel that if you put Cody Rhodes and CM Punk in a WWE Championship match, the political nonsense that would probably come out of that boardroom would be palpable to a point where all 50 states would fucking feel it. Never mind just Connecticut. Who wins that match? If you do Cody Rhodes and CM Punk for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam and Punk doesn't wrestle upon returning to the company after 3 months, we haven't seen him since WrestleMania, and you want to put him in a WWE Championship match, my line of thinking is, who wins? Is Punk going to come back and immediately lose to Cody Rhodes? Why the fuck would he want to do that? Cody Rhodes would undoubtedly have to win. Or CM Punk would undoubtedly have to win. I don't think either of them would want to lose to one another. So what we do is Cody versus CM Punk one-on-one, no strings attached, no title on the line. CM Punk could beat Cody Rhodes without the title being on the line, and you don't have to book this safe, very careful way that Triple H loves to book when Cody's the champion. Punk wins with no strings attached. And it furthers the story. I doubt that that's going to be the only meeting. That would be the first match in WWE. We have at least 2 more on tap. Maybe the next time they meet, it would be for the WWE Championship. Maybe the next time they meet would be a grudge match. Cody wants his win back. We further the feud. Cody gets his win back over Punk. And then the third time they meet, it would be for the WWE Championship. Maybe at WrestleMania. So if Oba is the king of the ring, the way that I look at it is, and I don't know if this is the way Triple H is thinking, Sami's the WWE champion. How do I spare myself the headache with both of these massive egos? How do I spare myself the outcome of who wins and who loses? We'll just put the title on Sami Zayn. Oba could beat Sami Zayn. Oba could be the WWE champion. Yet we can have this great story play out on Friday night. Sami, Oba, Cody, Punk. Man, that's enough for 2 hours to pique my fucking interest. That may be the direction where they're going. As for the World Heavyweight Championship, a lot of people are complaining that Braun Breaker lost to Seth Rollins. I don't know if you guys are actually watching the show or just watching viral clips on social media or watching some fucking half-witted idiot tweet on Twitter. Seth Rollins has already made a motion towards the World Heavyweight Championship. He's owed a championship match because he never lost it fair and square. So we need to tie up loose ends before we do anything else. For that to happen, he needed to beat Braun Breaker. I don't know why everybody's complaining about Braun Breaker losing to Seth Rollins. It's not his time yet. Everybody thought it was his time, including me back in January. I'm glad they didn't put the fucking title on him back in January. Now looking back at it, the injury hindered Braun Breaker. Oba Femi and his arrival hindered Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker would be the guy that they got stars in the eyes for. Boba Femi didn't show up. Oba's now here and Braun Breaker's on the back burner. I don't think Oba and Braun Breaker can exist on the same show. So this is another reason why they may be moving Oba Femi over to SmackDown to challenge Sami Zayn for the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. Seth Rollins is clearly going after Roman Reigns because there's nothing else left for him to do. They made it very, very obvious that this steel cage match was ending the Vision feud and he was moving on. There's nothing else for him to move on to except Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns will main event night 2 of SummerSlam. And the story there, it's quite obvious what they're going to be building that story on. Seth Rollins has had a problem with the bloodline. Seth Rollins has hated Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins is jealous and envious of Roman Reigns. And then obviously their days in the Shield, where Roman has never beaten Seth Rollins one-on-one pinfall. It's the one guy he hasn't beaten. And they're going to play that up. Now my next problem is, what does WWE do with Brock Lesnar? I don't know. I have no idea. We went through every theory that WWE had on the table, and I am pretty confident that they went through all of the same theories that we went through on Tuesday Night Titans last Tuesday. Every single theory. Did it make sense for Brock Lesnar to show up in Saudi Arabia? Sure. But thinking as a logical human being, why would Brock fly all the way from Saskatchewan to Saudi Arabia to fuck over Oba Femi and have him not win the King of the Ring? That made no sense for Brock Lesnar to physically do that as a human being to another. WWE toyed with the idea of Jey Uso winning the King of the Ring because Triple H knew it would get emotion. Whether it's good or bad emotion, it would get emotion. It elicited a reaction. Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns was a very big possibility. Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes was a very big possibility. Nobody believed that Oba would win. Everybody went with the Brock narrative. And rightfully so, because this is a company that lives and dies by the Samoan dynasty. A lot of us were like, I don't want to believe it, but I'll believe it when I see it. Oba Femi winning the match. Everybody went with Jey Uso. You can't blame them for that. WWE has showed you that their first love is the Samoan dynasty. And until they show you that they are capable of booking in another way, like they did tonight, nobody's going to believe it until they see it play out with their own 2 eyes. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Oba Femi versus Sami Zayn. Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. Brock Lesnar. The idea is still in play with Brock challenging Oba. Maybe we do Oba and Brock Lesnar on night 1, and that has a direct impact on night 2, which would not bode well for Sami Zayn and basically ends his title reign at SummerSlam. Brock or Oba, he ain't surviving. Maybe that's what they do. They give Oba the superstar treatment. He beats Brock, retires Brock, beats the WWE champion, beats Sami Zayn, and they crown him in the same weekend. Beating Brock, retiring Brock, and winning the WWE championship. If they want to crown this guy the new fucking king of the mountain, that's the way to do it. I don't think that works. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. You should do one or the other. You should invest in a story between Oba and Sami first, instead of doing Oba 50-50 with Brock and Sami in the same weekend. But it's a little less egregious if he does it with Sami and comparing it to Roman Reigns. Because we all thought that he would win and challenge Roman Reigns, which is still on the table, but I don't think they go that way. Because then you leave Rollins with literally nothing to do at SummerSlam. And if none of that happens, and Brock doesn't factor into Oba, I could absolutely see them running Brock Lesnar and Gunther back, because now, what does Gunther have to do at SummerSlam? And I've seen some people in the chat saying, oh, he shoved Nick Aldis. Oh, he pushed Nick Aldis. He put his hands on Nick Aldis during the Night of Champions post-show. Bro, we've been talking about Nick Aldis coming out of retirement and coming out of the suit for a wrestling match for 3 years now. First it was against Randy Orton. Then it was against Drew McIntyre. Now it's against Gunther. If it happens, it happens. It's also one of those situations where I gotta see it to believe it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I will tell you, Nick Aldis is ready for a main event spot whenever they want him. Nick Aldis is ready for in-ring action whenever they want him. He's 37 years old. He looks incredible. The guy is one of the best storytellers in the fucking business. If they want him and Gunther at SummerSlam, I'm not going to say no to that. But we're still left asking the question, what do you do with Brock Lesnar? Maybe you do Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar. Can't imagine Braun Breaker wants to be part of the fucking vision anymore. That's also an idea. I don't know. Maybe they just run with that idea that Brock and Oba happens on night 1, and then the winner of that gets Sami Zayn in the title match on night 2, which would be Oba. We can talk about that in the weeks to come. But the Sami Zayn decision for him to win the WWE Championship should be celebrated and not shit on. Seriously. There's nothing wrong with this decision. Nothing. This is something that needed to happen. How many people... There are more people out there that are against Cody Rhodes being the champion than are for Cody Rhodes. And I'm talking about the fans on social media. Cody Rhodes got a very lukewarm reaction today in Saudi Arabia. This is Sami Zayn's home turf. Cody Rhodes doesn't get the overwhelming reaction that he once used to get 3 years ago. People are starting to tire on Cody Rhodes. People are starting to get a little tiresome of Cody Rhodes and the title run and the title matches and the way that these shows end. They can only take so much. So when change actually happens, and we've been asking for change, this is the right change. We've been asking for Triple H to stop being safe. He made Sami fucking Zayn the WWE champion, and people are still complaining. He went with Obafemi over Jey Uso clean, and we're still complaining about some of the shit that he does. Listen, I'll be the first person to blame him and cast blame on him, but tonight is not one of those nights. He made 2 creative decisions that we were very much questioning, one of which was the King of the Ring. And he said, you know what? There's no way I can do this. Everybody that's been complaining and everybody that's been worried, here you go. You got nothing to worry about. Again, what is there to complain about? There is worse on this show that we should be complaining about. These two decisions are not them. Largely a very, very bad show. I would say just downright terrible show. 2 matches out of 6. That really did anything for me, which was the triple threat match. Sami, Cody, Gunther. Great match. Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Steel Cage match. Started off slow, ended up great. Outside that, Oba, Jey wasn't much of a match. Io and Liv, boring. Then we got Jade and Tiffany, boring. That was fucking bad. And then Ricky and Trick, which was an alright match. It felt more like a SmackDown match with an apathetic crowd that didn't give a fuck outside of chanting, whoop that trick, whoop that trick. This was a thumbs down show, chat. This was a thumbs down show. We got a couple of other bombs here, man. I gotta call them out. We got my guy Billy with a Billy Bomb! $100 super chat. I am back. Had to get a new phone, dealing with my rotator injury, family tragedy. And I had to resubscribe to the channel, miss being part of the OTS family for life. Overall, the PLE was mid, except for the two key things happening tonight. JD is the man. Billy. Billy, thank you, brother. Normally, if you have to resubscribe to the channel, I know YouTube is they've undergone a couple of changes. They've updated some things. We got some new features, which usually slows everything down. It fucks everything up. People are unsubscribed. We see it on the back end. Things take longer to process, and things just don't feel right. They don't go right. Billy, I think you're a mod here, so you're good. Normally, you'd have to wait 2 weeks to chat. That doesn't need to happen to Billy. So, thank you, Billy. I really appreciate the super chat love. You are awesome, and everybody is awesome. We're going to get into this show tonight. Thank you for joining me here on the Night of Champions 2026 post show. It is your June 27th, 2026. Hit that thumbs up. Try for... I couldn't tell. These people had more fun fucking bouncing with Oba and dancing with Oba instead of the actual match. Jey Uso comes on out. He does his typical garbage. He's yeeting all over the place. He runs it back. 9 minutes in, and we finally get Oba's entrance. Then he comes on out. He does his... Maybe we'll find out Monday who Oba Femi challenges at SummerSlam when Raw invades my town, Atlantic City, New Jersey. He's the ruler. I don't know. We will see. He could choose Roman. I could be wrong in everything I said in the open of this show. He could choose Sami. You would think that if he chooses Sami, it's the easiest path to the WWE title. Don't be stupid. Choose Sami. Danhausen. Unfortunately, we had a Danhausen appearance on this show because his scientific experiments span globally. Again, we find out, hopefully in the next coming weeks. But Io, she wins this match. Very ho-hum, very average stuff. Crowd was awful. They added absolutely nothing to this match. It actually made the match worse because they just sat there apathetically, very quietly, just very uninterested. Io wins in 15 minutes, right winner, Queen of the Ring. She gets live at SummerSlam. SummerSlam World Champion going finally put his focus on the World Heavyweight Championship. Saudi Arabia with Adam Copeland, Edge, and they had one hell of a Hell in a Cell match. Better than the London crowd on Friday on SmackDown. Charlotte and Jade is to do a Braun breaker. He needed to beat the leader. He needed to beat the leader to move on. Now he can go and finally put his focus on the World Heavyweight Championship, which is now conveniently held by Roman Reigns. This was the original WrestleMania main event. It was supposed to be Rollins and Roman, and then Punk and Cody. It didn't work out that way. We got Punk Roman, and we got what we got with Randy and Cody, which got fucked up. She doesn't need pro wrestling. She, after avoiding an early trick shot, been given. A Cody Rhodes WWE Championship run that has largely been something that has been unexciting all year. As SmackDown now goes back to 2 hours with Sami Zayn as the WWE Champion with the rumor of CM Punk coming back. We don't know if Kevin Owens is going to be back. I like it. Oba Femi possibly challenging Sami Zayn for the WWE title. I like it. The Sami Zayn hate is forced. This was the right call. We could absolutely be going back to Cody and Sami. Again, I don't mind it. I just don't want to see that. I think that's boring. I think that is the definition of safe. We'll take it off you now. We'll give it right back to you at SummerSlam like we did with John Cena. No. Now, Cody was in the same position last year. Cena beat him at WrestleMania. Cody won it back at SummerSlam. And now we're doing the same thing here. This time it's only a month. I don't like that. Going back to Cody is the wrong move. We don't need to go back to the ring. Still would have preferred...
You're watching the Legal Breakdown. Glenn, we have a big update as far as one of Donald Trump's top henchmen are concerned, where his law...
America, this tournament might be fought on the pitch, but it'll be won.
And send a super chat. And I was kind of hoping it would go a different way, but I was not terribly optimistic about it. Sami Zayn went out there in the main event tonight. A man who only a few months ago, I want to point this out to you, he was feuding with Trick Williams and the Gingerbread Man. In fact, he showed up one week dressed up as the Gingerbread Man. This was only 2 months ago, 3 months ago. This wasn't that far in the past that we were doing the Gingerbread Man stuff, okay? I had a funeral on SmackDown, their SmackDown review last night that I think was more entertaining than the Gingerbread Man funeral a few months ago. But that's the kind of stuff that Sami Zayn was doing not that long ago. The reactions to him began to change. And to me, this is a great example of something where you kind of luck into it. There is this organic, natural response from the audience where Sami starts getting booed. But it's not like total, complete boos. It's not like he's coming out there and getting Dominic Mysterio heat or anything like that. But the reactions are changing. And I'm sure Sami in real life is looking at this and he's how can it not bother you? Right? He's probably looking at this and going, this is kind of strange. But then if you're someone like Sami Zayn, who's been doing this for a long time, you realize pretty quickly, hey, we may have something here. We may be able to parlay this into something that could actually end up being a really good thing for me. So let's just lean into it and see where it goes. And hence the whole, last real good guy stuff that he's been doing where he's a heel, but maybe not like 100%. He comes out, he talks about his ride or die fans. It was just an interesting change to his character from what he had been doing previously. But it just worked out so well, and the title scene on SmackDown has been so lackluster. They moved Gunther over from Raw to SmackDown to try to fix the problem, because coming out of WrestleMania, they didn't have Drew McIntyre, and you couldn't well go back to Cody and Drew anyway. You already played that out. They didn't have Randy Orton, who I take it really is hurt. I saw he just got pulled from Fanatics Fest. He pulled out of Fanatics Fest, which is coming up in a few weeks. I don't know what's going on with him. That story to me is a dead story. I mean, sure, they could always revisit it, but the level of interest and excitement that I had finally for a Cody and Randy story was ruined. They fucked it all up at WrestleMania. So even if they revisit it one day, I don't know that I'm going to have the same level of enthusiasm for it. They kind of botched the whole thing up there. But then Randy Orton, punted Cody in the head. He hasn't been seen since WrestleMania. So they had to shift Gunther over with any hope they'll move CM Punk over. I've been saying that for a long time. It sounds like that is what they're going to do. They have to. They have to. Monday Night Raw is the Roman Reigns show. It is the Bloodline show. And we already had a WrestleMania main event with Punk and Roman. Punk, he could use the change in scenery. But for the time being, we were dealing with Cody and Gunther, and Cody had already beaten him. And then they had the rematch on TV, right, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was. And it was all done in a way that set up the match that we had here on this show. The one negative, as I look at these three men, and I look at Gunther specifically, is the aura that this man has lost, that he has shed in the 6 months since he beat AJ Styles, in the 7 months since he retired John Cena. He was the man that they chose. He was the man that John Cena said, hey, not only are we going to work together and you're going to beat me, I have an idea for how I'd like to go out. Right? I'm going to give up. They bestowed that upon Gunther. Look at where he is now. And you honestly tell me, can you honestly tell me that Gunther in June of 2026 still feels the same way that he felt in December or January of this year? He doesn't. And I don't know how they get that back. Not saying they can't, but I'm saying what they had, it's kind of gone away. And I didn't really have much of an interest at this point in even seeing Gunther win the championship from Cody. But Sami, that interested me. Because you can go in a lot of different directions with that. Not just because, I like Sami, or because, he deserves it. He hasn't been the champion yet, Sometimes people don't win the championship. But there are times where it just makes sense. To me, this is a moment in time here where it made sense. To shake things up a little bit here on the road to SummerSlam. I don't see the harm in doing it. Instead of just playing the status quo, this now shakes up the title picture on SmackDown in a way that makes things interesting as we look ahead now to SummerSlam. We're not exactly sure what the main event is going to look like on the SmackDown side. Are we looking at a scenario where we get Cody and Sami in a rematch, one-on-one? I think that's very likely. I cannot imagine a SummerSlam main event this year that does not have Cody Rhodes in it. Are we looking at a scenario where the new King of the Ring is going to choose to go after Sami and his championship? Are we looking at something maybe completely off the wall that we may not even be thinking of? Are we even looking at Sami Zayn going into SummerSlam as the champion? Are we looking at a situation where Sami Zayn doesn't make it out of Saturday night's main event as the WWE champion? All of these options are now on the table. And I welcome it because SmackDown could use a real kick in the ass. It can use a shot in the arm and a little unpredictability. And I feel like now that's what we have, at least in the main event scene here on SmackDown. But again, I'm just thinking back to where we were coming out of WrestleMania and where we are now. And Gunther is there, and Punk is likely coming in. Sami is the champion. You still got Cody in the mix, and I don't know who else they may want to throw in there. But all of a sudden, you've got something I think that people can at least talk about and discuss in terms of I don't know exactly where this is going to go. I personally just look at that as a good thing. I thought the main event tonight on this show, easily the best thing on the entire show. I knew coming in, you put those three men in the ring together, you're going to get a great match. That's also why I like the idea of them doing a triple threat, right? You can get a kick-ass match out of it. And that's exactly what we got. Great drama down the line. It really, I think, stood out more so because there were so many other things on this show that came off so flat. And I can't even just blame the crowd. The crowd was very quiet for a lot of the undercard, right? Of course, when the big stars were out there, Sami, of course, is always beloved when he goes over to Saudi. Cody, Oba. There were people like that who got, I'm not saying that they didn't get reactions, but so much on this show, the product came across so cold. Like ice cold, like rigor mortis cold. But for a couple of matches on the entire show. I didn't think this was a good show overall. I was pretty fucking bored for most of it. The big highlight of the show was that main event and the main event finish. And again, I like the fact that they batted 1,000 as far as I think the outcomes for the key matches on the show. They got it right when it came to the key matches on this show. And some people may disagree when it comes to the Seth and Braun Breaker match. Although I didn't look at that as one of the key matches on this show. But where it mattered, where it counted, I thought they got it right. I'm also just tickled every time Michael Cole, and this is not the first time he's done this, but Michael Cole has taken. There's been so many strays that Wemby has taken, including another one on commentary tonight during the main event from Michael Cole. But we'll get into like what happened in the main event, where things may go from here with Sami. That was obviously the big story coming out of this. One thing I will say, I do wish, and I suppose there's always a chance of it, but it seems unlikely, given that I think he had surgery less than a year ago. It was a very serious injury. But man, now that Sami Zayn is the WWE champion for however long he's going to be the champion for, if ever there was a time, a perfect time for Kevin Owens to reappear on television, this would be it. Right? Whether they're on opposite sides, whether they're on the same side, because despite what Cody Rhodes may have said on SmackDown last night, Kevin Owens has never been WWE champion. Sami Zayn actually won the WWE title before Kevin Owens did. If ever there was a good time for him to pop back up on TV, this would be it. It might be wishful thinking, but who knows? I guess it depends on how long Sami holds that championship for. But then the other thing, outside of the WWE title, that this show was built around, is right. Let me prepare here, because you can't talk about the King of the Ring without a crown. So I only feel it's appropriate here that we place this on the royal head. Yeah, I think back on these King of the Ring tournaments over the years, the televised ones. They go all the way back to 1993. And we've gotten some really good finals over the years. The first one, Bret Hart and Bam Bam Bigelow back in 93. The Rock and Ken Shamrock in 1998. Kurt Angle and Edge in 2001. I'm going to throw it in there, Baron Corbin and Chad Gable on Raw in the finals in 2019. I thought, and that went like almost 20 minutes, I thought they had a hell of a match that year. Randy Orton and Gunther a couple of years ago. So we've had some really good King of the Ring finals. Unfortunately, we've had more bad ones than good ones. I would even say the vast majority of these King of the Ring finals have been very underwhelming, very disappointing, or just flat out not good. And unfortunately, I think that the one that we had here on this show falls into that latter category, the unforgettable, right? The unforgettable and the forgettable, it falls into the forgettable category. There was nothing memorable about the King of the Ring final or the Queen of the Ring final on this show. In fact, you have these tournaments that build to these big finales, and it just feels like another match on the show. And so that sucks, because you would hope at a tournament, like, it would really build to the big climactic finale, and there would be something about that match that stands out, whether it's just a banger wrestling match, or there's just great drama, or something big, like, there's got to be something to it. And there really wasn't. I will say this, though. They went the way of the Continental Classic. They took a page out of AEW with the way that they did these tournaments this year, or at least it worked out that way, where, you know how with the Continental title and the Continental Classic stuff, there's no outside interference allowed. I thought for sure in at least one, if not both of these matches, we were going to get somebody getting involved. There was going to be interference from the Judgment Day, trying to help Liv Morgan. Brock Lesnar was going to show up, and he was going to try to fuck over Obafemi. And it was kind of refreshing. We didn't get any of that. We had two matches here in these finals where nobody got involved. It was just that, and maybe you thought that made it boring. I don't know. But, like, it made for a clean finish in both cases where it's like, oh, okay, that was kind of a pleasant surprise that I wasn't really expecting. But yes, Brock Lesnar did not show up on this show. The Judgment Day, outside of Liv, did not show up here on this show. There was no interference, and they got it right. Everybody was so worried, myself included, that they were going to go with King Yeet on this show. And we were going to get Jey Uso challenging for one of the world championships at SummerSlam. They were going to get cute. They were going to have Brock interfere. We're going to get Brock and Oba at SummerSlam, and Jey Uso was wrestling for a belt. And that would have been fucking awful. That would have been fucking terrible. And they didn't do that. They toyed with us. They toyed with us. They wanted us to sweat a little bit. But all that matters is that in the end, it was the right call. It was the obvious choice. It was very straightforward, the way they did it. And Obafemi is the king of the ring. He has had quite the year so far. Beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, now he's the king of the ring. He is getting a push very similar to the one that Brock himself got when he first debuted in 2002. He's getting the Brock push. I'm all for the Brock push. You don't give the Brock push very often. You save it. If you're going to do it, it's a lot in a very short period of time for someone new. That could end up being a bad thing. The pendulum can swing the other way. It's too much too soon. The fans rebel, or the pressure is too much for the performer, right? You never really know. But every now and then there's a guy who comes along and you just look at him and you know, okay, this is going to be the guy. So let's just go all the way with him. Let's not fuck around. Obafemi wrestling for the Intercontinental title. Who needs to see that? Obafemi wrestling for the United States Championship. Who gives a shit? He's bigger than that. Literally. The big guy. So here he is now, challenging for one of the two world championships in his first SummerSlam. And the only question is, which title is it going to be? And the Queen of the Ring, Liv Morgan, Io Sky, Queen Io. We now have Queen Io. And Io will be challenging. We already know what championship she's challenging for. She already told Liv Morgan, I'll see you at SummerSlam. So we had our first match made official for SummerSlam this year. Liv Morgan will defend the Women's World Championship against Io Sky. And that's great. We actually had a second SummerSlam match that we're going to get as well. It's not official, but after what happened here on this show, it's pretty clear what the other, not for a title, but what the other women's match on that show is going to be. Now, as much as I can heap praise upon them for getting it right when it comes to the outcomes of these matches, I can't help but sit here and also say, as a fan of the King of the Ring, I wish they, as much as they got the outcome right, I wish they would have gotten the tournament right. Because Jey Uso never should have been in the finals to begin with. Of all of the options that were available to them, and again, you could have had Obafemi in there with any number of people who were in the tournament, people who were not even in the tournament, but there were a lot of better options for a finals match that would have given us a better match, that would have given us, I think, a more exciting conclusion. And they went with what I thought was, frankly, the most boring of all the options available to them. Liv Morgan had no business even being in the Queen of the Ring tournament. She's the Women's World Champion. She should not have been in there in the first place. She took up a spot that could have gone to somebody else and made no sense that she was even in there to begin with. So I wish they would have taken greater care in when they put these tournaments together, figuring out, okay, what are the best possible options that we have here to make for the most interesting, exciting tournament, great matches to where it really feels like every match is a battle. And this thing really matters, in a major way. And I thought they fell short of that just with, some of the choices they made along the way as far as this stuff goes. We had a steel cage match on this show. I'm going to take my crown off now. What do you think? Do you accept me as your king? Will you bow down and send a super chat? Let's talk about the cage match. We had a steel cage match on this show with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. This was the blow-off, finally. Hallelujah. Between Seth Rollins and The Vision. And we still don't know who's going to be challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, but Seth Rollins is definitely got to be one of the top, I'd say, two options of who's going to get Roman Reigns on that show. And if that's the case, then he had to win tonight. But I understand people being upset that Braun Breaker did not win. Came into this match, Seth Rollins was basically saying, let's see what you're made of, kid. Let's see what you got. And then Braun Breaker went in there, and he lost. He got beat by Seth Rollins. Now, I didn't look at how they did it as any sort of burial, but I look at it, and I do question now, what's next for this guy? It could end up being a burial, depending on how they follow up on this. He could very easily fall through the cracks, and that would be a terrible thing. So I think it's too early to judge exactly where he's going to end up here in the second half of the year. I don't see there being a lot of great options, though, heading into SummerSlam and beyond for Braun Breaker. But if Seth Rollins is going to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, it only made sense for him to win this match. If you're going to build him up for a championship match, that's the way it has to be done. It's no different. I got a question the other night here on one of these streams from somebody asking me, I think it might have been SmackDown last night. And somebody asked me, well, do you think there's a chance that Zack Sabre Jr. might beat Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door tomorrow? And I'm like, well, I sure as fuck hope not. That would be fucking terrible. If Kenny Omega is going to be challenging for the AEW World title next month, he needs to win. That's the way it should work. But Braun Breaker is in a weird place now, because I honestly look at Braun Breaker and think the best course of action here is to turn him babyface and get him away from the Vision. Because if he sticks with the Vision as it's currently constructed, I don't really see a good place to go with him. It's going to be very, very important how they decide to follow up on this. There was another negative about this show, which is that the fans in Riyadh did not give a single shit about any of the women's matches on this show. There were a few matches. I mean, frankly, even, a good chunk of the cage match. But the women's matches in particular, it was very noticeable. The Queen of the Ring final, the women's U.S. title match, they did not give a shit. They did not care. But for, the fun spots that Io usually does, they pop for Io winning at the finish. They did pop for that. But a lot of stuff on the undercard, the women in particular, the men's U.S. title match, they didn't give a shit. And it really brought the show down. But again, I can't put the full blame on them, because what they got wasn't really terribly exciting. I said before, I didn't think overall this was really that good of a show. I was fucking bored for most of it. And the matches that we got were not great. They were not great outside of the main event. The main event saved that show. If you take that main event away and you have a main event very similar to the matches that we were getting on the undercard, where it's like, it's a solid match, this is an automatic thumbs down show. I mean, there was somebody who said to me, Salamonster, Oba and Jay was so much better than I thought it would be. 4-star. I'm like, what are you talking about? 4 stars? Are you out of your mind? Outside of the main event, there was nothing on this show. The cage match, I will say, and I did not hate the cage match. The cage match was very boring for the first half. Very slow, not a whole lot going on. Unacceptable for a match that was supposed to be this big blow-off to a grudge feud. And then in the final, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes or whatever, it really picked up, and I liked what they did there at the end. But were it not for that main event, boy, this would have been terrible. The main event really did make this show. Very much so. We're going to talk about all of it, though. This is your Night of Champions 2026 review. I am the Salamonster. I am King Salamonster. Very happy that you can join me here on a Saturday afternoon, a lot earlier than usual, but such is the case with these Saudi shows, which air early. It's going to be very, very much the same with WrestleMania next year. We're going to get WrestleMania at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so get used to it. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open, and they are the lifeblood of the channel. I do appreciate all of the support that you throw my way. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all of the support. I will say I did see something on social media before about an outage with Streamlabs, which if that's the case, it sounds like it might be a widespread outage. That means nothing is going to pop up on screen. So I am going to see all of your messages, and I will read them, but they may not be popping up on the screen, unfortunately. But it seems to be a widespread Streamlabs thing, so just be aware of that. If you don't see them and you're wondering where they are, don't blame me. But they are coming through. Let's bring up the wheel and take it for a spin. Let's see how many likes we need. We do have a bonus goal in the chat, by the way, a bonus super chat goal. We're already halfway there. If we hit that goal, we'll do bonus Be the Booker. But let's find out how many likes we need to do B2B, which is a fun little thing we do here on these streams. If we hit our goal, let's find out. 450, a modest goal. I have a feeling we're not going to have an issue with that. I have a feeling that that's not going to be a problem. We are already up to 385. So 450 is the goal. You guys know what to do. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. I do want to acknowledge, I know we got I believe, let me see here if it's, who it was from. But I believe we got a Gunther bomb. We did did. We got a Gunther bomb here from Eric the Sean, who dropped a $50 super chat. Let me bring it up in a separate window. So I'm going to read his now, because that is a big one. That's what she said. Congratulations to Sami for finally winning the big one. Honestly, wish it would have happened a little bit sooner, but I guess it's better than never. Does this pave the way for a Kevin Owens return to either congratulate Sami or attack him? See, great minds think alike here. These two men will forever be linked. If one has success, automatically you got to think about the other one, right? Is the other one going to turn on them? Is the other one going to, be happy for them? Are they going to be partners again? I just don't know where he is in terms of his recovery and getting cleared. That was my first thought, honestly. It's like, how can they weave Kevin Owens into this? Because he's a SmackDown guy, too. But I just don't know if he's... I don't know that he's medically clear, but that doesn't necessarily mean he can't show up on TV. He may not be able to wrestle, but if they can figure out a way to kind of work him into a story on TV, then who knows? We may see him. But Eric, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Michael Cole and Corey Graves, they were on the call here for this show. Michael Cole's audio at the beginning of the show was noticeably clipping. Anytime he yelled, he sounded like a YouTuber. So anytime he yelled, he was clipping. And Corey Graves' audio also was kind of cutting in and out. It was very low at one point. There was a lot of weird stuff going on with the audio. I think they fixed Cole's problem about halfway through. But then we had more audio problems at the end during the main event because the announce desk got taken out, which we'll get to. But they opened this show first hour on ESPN with the King of the Ring final between Obafemi and Jey Uso. So Jey came out first. He yeeted his way down to the ring. And then it was Oba. There was a random burst of pyro off camera for some reason, or a concussion, I guess is what they call them. I don't know what that was about. It sounded like a cannon went off, and nobody really acknowledged it, and then we were underway, and the match began. We got a right hand from Jey that only stunned Oba, who mowed him down with a shoulder block. Jey ducked outside. Oba went out after him, and so Jey sent him into the ring post. Then he got back inside. He hit Oba with a suicide dive. And then another one, a third one got cut off. Oba hoisted him up. He was going to give him a shoulder breaker, and he did. And on commentary, I noticed at this point, we were already up to about 3 or 4 mentions, 3 or 4 name drops of Brock Lesnar on comment. Just various references to Brock Lesnar and Oba's previous battles with him. And I was like, they're sure mentioning his name an awful lot. Which takes away, if he's going to show up as a surprise, you wouldn't want to mention his name. You wouldn't even want people to have Brock Lesnar on the brain. So the fact that they mentioned him several times during this match was very noticeable to me that maybe we're not going to see him here. So Oba got him up for a fall from grace, and he fell down on his butt like he normally would, but before he fell down on his ass, Jey had slipped out. He slipped out behind him, and so he gave him a super kick to the back of the head. He went up top, he hit an Uso splash. Not even a 1 count, though, because Oba reached up and he goozled him. He grabbed him by the throat. Oba planted him then, after this, with a choke slam for a 2 count. There were multiple super kicks by Jey as he fought back. And then there was a spear that took down Oba. Jey goes up top, he lands another Uso splash, but he didn't go for the pin. He didn't follow up with the pin, which was very strange. And the announcers pointed out that, well, he may have hurt his ribs on the way down. I'm like, well, he never hurts his ribs before when he does the splash. And then they also floated the possibility that he may be exhausted. And that's a little more believable. I don't think anybody would be too shocked to find out if Jey Uso was, exhausted by this point in the match. So anyway, he didn't follow up with a pin. Both men were down. So he went up top. He hit a second Uso splash. This time he covered. Oba kicked out at 2. Jey got a sleeper hold applied on the mat, and they pointed out on commentary it's the same move that he used to beat Gunther to win the World Championship. Yeah, you don't have to remind us. We remember that. We're never going to forget the ending of that match and the way that went down. Oba, though, made it back up to his feet very easily. He broke free. Pair of running uppercuts, then dropped Jey. He hoisted him up. He bealed him. And now it's time for the fall from grace. And I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for the fuckery. I'm like, okay, something's about to happen here. Someone's coming out. Brock's showing up. Something's going to happen here. Gets him up for the fall from grace. Down goes Jey Uso. And Oba Femi pins Jey Uso. Clean as a sheet. 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, about 8 minutes in, to become the king of the ring. Nick Aldis was there to present the crown to Oba. Not as nice as this one right here. He presented the crown. Honestly, it's probably made of the same plastic as this one is. you know those fucking crowns are just cheap as fuck. So Adam Pearce wasn't there for whatever reason, but Nick Aldis was. And so he presents the crown to Oba, who never put it on his head. Neither did Gunther, now that I think about it. They probably didn't want them to look ridiculous with it on their head. Interestingly, Cody had no problem putting the crown on his head and looking silly. But I don't think Oba ever actually put the crown on his head. Byron Saxton got in the ring to interview him. Oba said, "It feels good to go from being the ruler to being the king." He said, "You can't beat destiny. And most importantly, you can't beat him. He is the mountain that you cannot conquer. He is the beast slayer. He is the king of the ring, Oba Femi." And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, thank God.
Okay.
Common sense prevailed.
Hold on a second. I'll give
At the end of the day, they made the right move. There really only should have been one outcome to this. It was the obvious one, but they got a lot of people very worried. Because the bloodline, right, is the end-all be-all in this company, and Jey had gotten this renewed singles push lately, and he made it all the way to the finals, and we knew Brock was lurking. We didn't know if he was going to show up or not. This match was only going to go one of two ways, right? Either Oba wins or Jey wins, duh, obviously, but as far as how, Jey only wins if Brock interferes. If Brock Lesnar shows up, that's how Jey Uso wins. So either Brock shows up or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, then Oba wins. And that's what they did. No interference, no shenanigans, no fuckery here. And again, them name-dropping Brock all those times, to me, was kind of a giveaway that he probably wasn't going to show. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure, but by the third or fourth mention of Brock Lesnar, I was pretty sure that he wasn't showing up here in this match. Now, look, some people are going to quibble, I'm sure, over how much offense Jey got. It went 8 minutes. They gave him a lot in this match, and he got a bunch of near falls. That doesn't bother me because, of course, they're going to give him offense here. I know that there are a lot of people out there who don't either like Jey Uso or who just don't feel like he is someone who should be in the position that he's in, where he's, main eventing stuff on his own, right? Been there, done that.
She takes the time to understand his unique personality. What was once a stressful experience has turned into...
That's it. He's not wrestling Gunther. He's not wrestling anybody but Oba Femi if Brock Lesnar wrestles on that show. Do we get that on one night, and do we get Oba challenging Roman on the other night, right? Seems like a very realistic possibility. There's another possibility, which is that we get Oba and Roman, and they're not quite ready to put the championship on Oba yet, or take it off Roman. And they do a finish where Brock doesn't wrestle, but he shows up at SummerSlam. And he costs Oba Femi the World Heavyweight Championship. We all thought that he was going to cost him the King of the Ring. He cost him something even bigger than that. He cost him the world title. Which then allows Oba and Brock to go off to have their rematch and finish their feud. And you put off the coronation of Oba Femi until Saudi Mania next year, WrestleMania 43. That, to me, honestly, that seems like the likeliest scenario. As I sit here right now and I mull all of this over, I think that there's a very, very good possibility of that happening. Which, again, it's not like we haven't seen that in years past where they don't want to crown somebody at SummerSlam. So they want to hold it off until WrestleMania. That was the idea with Luger back in '93. He went on this whole bus tour the whole summer. Everything was building to him winning the World Championship from Yokozuna. And he didn't. And then we found out the stipulation was that you can't challenge for the title again. He won the Rumble to get around that. But the idea was that Vince didn't want to crown him at SummerSlam. He wanted to hold off on it until WrestleMania 10. But shit happened in the meantime, and plans changed. Look at Daniel Bryan back in 2013. He actually did win the belt, lost it the same night, And as things turned out, he won the championship at WrestleMania. So it's not like we haven't seen this sort of thing before. So I think those are the options that we're looking at right now. But I can't see Oba picking anybody but Roman Reigns, just based on what we saw and heard from him on Monday night. That would seem to be the direction here. Now, after a 4-minute break, we were supposed to have the finals of the Queen of the Ring, with the Women's World Champion Liv Morgan taking on Io Sky. Boy, they were really running through these finals, weren't they? They wanted to fit everything in that first hour on ESPN and just be done with this stuff. Which I guess I can understand. You know, you kind of do this, you front load it with the King and Queen of the Ring stuff, pad it in the middle, and then you close with the WWE Championship. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But instead, before any of the women could come out, we had Danhausen, who is not a woman, at least not to my knowledge, but he came out on stage and he said, hello to Rehadhausen, right? Is that what he said? Rehadhausen? Rehadhausen? I don't know what he said. He said he's recently come into a large amount of human monies. But before he could continue, Liv Morgan made her entrance for the next match. And she stopped on stage. And she confronted Danhausen and said, speaking of money, you owe the Judgment Day a whole lot of money. And if you don't give it back, a lot of bad things are going to happen to you. So Danhausen said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he placed a curse on Liv Morgan. And so Liv smacked the shit out of him and then continued on with her entrance. So before Io Sky even came out, before Io Sky even made her way to the ring, she already won Queen of the Ring. We already knew how this was going to end. They gave away the finish. Io tried for a sunset flip powerbomb to the floor early on. Liv blocked it. And on the floor, Io came off the barricade with a crossbody and she was celebrating. But Liv sent her headfirst into the ring post. Morgan went for a Boston Crab. Actually, before that, Liv, she hit the Three Amigos. And then an enziguri to the back of the head when Io was trying to get up. Got to get that Three Amigos reference in there. Morgan went for a Boston Crab. She leaned too far back, though. And Io rolled through, and she jumped up, gave her a standing double stomp. Io came off the top rope with a missile drop kick. Liv was able to escape a double underhook into a backstabber. Io, though, rolled out to the floor. So Liv went for a dive. Io cut her off with a forearm, and Io hit a springboard moonsault to the floor. Back inside, Io dropped Liv with a double underhook into a backbreaker for a near fall. She went to the top. She was setting up for the big moonsault, but she had her back turned to Liv, and so Liv was able to shove her off, and Io landed on the steps. Now, she landed perfectly on the steps, right? She didn't land and her leg bent or anything, right? But she was supposed to sell that she tweaked her knee. It didn't look like anything at all, but she had to sell it that way. So she's laying on the floor outside, and she's writhing around now in pain. And Liv, of course, hones in on that, like a shark tasting blood. And she goes in and she starts to work over the knee. She locked in a half crab, same way that she did when she beat Charlotte Flair to advance in the Queen of the Ring. Io tried to get to the ropes. Liv, though, dragged her back to the center of the ring. Io escaped. Liv hit a code breaker out of what at first looked like an attempt at an oblivion. Morgan, though, did go for oblivion. Io avoided it. Liv got caught up in the ropes. Io went for a dive off the middle rope. She missed. Again, she jammed her knee. Liv and Io, they were fighting up top. Io landed a top rope Spanish fly before racing back up to the top to hit her over the moonsault to win the match and the crown. And after Nick Aldis presented Io with her crown, Byron Saxton got in the ring and asked her, how does it feel to be the 2026 Queen of the...
These are turbulent times.
Last year when Rollins got kicked out of the Vision. And then recently, Seth Rollins bounced out of the King of the Ring tournament, loses his opportunity potentially to challenge for a world championship at SummerSlam because of Braun Breaker. Seth turns around. He cost Braun Breaker the tag team titles with Austin Theory. There's a lot of bad blood between these two men. And they're just having a boring wrestling match with a bunch of random weapons inside the cage. And I'm like, well, this is fucking boring. So to me, that was the story of the first half of this match. I didn't get the sense that these two men were in some sort of blood feud with each other. Rollins tried to bury Breaker. Funny, I wrote that. Subconsciously, maybe. He tried to bury Breaker in a pile of chairs, and he went to the top. Breaker, though, cut Rollins off, and Rollins shoved him down. Breaker, though, he ran right back up the ropes, and he hit a Breakensteiner. Picture perfect, too, because Rollins went flying, and he landed perfectly right over here. Rollins comes off the middle rope with, like, kind of a super stomp. I guess a super stomp would be from the top rope. This was kind of sort of a super stomp. But he stomped him out, and that got him the 3 count. It started off slow. It picked up very well there towards the end. The blood added a lot to this. It really did. Blood in a cage match is always welcome. Like blood in a cage match, there should be blood in a cage match, whether it's steel cage, Hell in a Cell, War Games, Blood and Guts. The word blood is literally in the name. Blood is appropriate in matches like that, right? Within reason. Obviously, we're going to get buckets of it tomorrow night. You're going to have 12 men in one cage. I can only imagine it's going to be a fucking bloodbath tomorrow night. It worked here, though. It was effective here because we don't get to see it very often in WWE. And I don't mean like a trickle of blood. Like, again, half his face was like caked in blood here. And it just added to it. It added so much more. Even if it was incidental and it was not intentional, the blood, I think, really added something that it would not have had without it. Rollins winning, a questionable decision, not an unexpected one. Questionable in that he came into this saying that this is the match that would test what Braun Breaker can really do. And then Breaker goes in there and he loses. Now, you could say that he looked strong in defeat, and it took a lot to put him down, right? It took a super stomp at the end, but still, he lost. He came in talking a lot of shit, just like Rollins, and he wasn't able to back it up. And that's going to hurt. It's not going to bury him, but it's going to hurt him. The key is in the follow-up. If he shows up on Raw on Monday night, he's a man possessed, or maybe they begin some sort of angle where he's having a falling out with the Vision. He can't be controlled. Heyman hasn't been there. Heyman, is not there to control him. Like, there are ways that they could, coming out of this, kind of build him up as this unstoppable force who, this loss just set something off within him. But I feel like I have deja vu as I sit here and I say this. I'm trying to think what I feel like I had said something similar. Maybe it was after he lost to Punk at the beginning of the year. And they didn't do what I was hoping they would do. I don't have a lot of faith they're going to do it now either. But I think it's something that they need to. Because otherwise, if he just kind of goes back and falls in line with the other remaining members of the Vision, whoever's left, what does he do? You know what I mean? Like, he only ended up as one half of the tag team champions because Logan Paul got hurt. And he didn't need the tag team titles, which he doesn't have now anyway. Do you want to build something with him and Penta for the Intercontinental title? You could, but I don't like that idea. Because Chad Gable should be the one challenging Penta for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. Not Braun Breaker. If it's a matter of you can only pick one or the other, I'm going with Chad Gable. So if he's not wrestling for the world title, he's not wrestling for the Intercontinental title, half the fucking group that he's a part of is injured. He just lost the feud to Rollins. I don't know where you go with Braun Breaker. Other than just, again, let him just fucking snap and just start wrecking shit. And you can figure it out, like what that next move is going to be. I look at this, and my feeling is that a babyface turn and a split from the Vision is what this guy needs. The Vision is a dead faction. I don't care if Paul Heyman is with them or not. I don't give a shit. The Vision sucks. The Vision is a terrible group. The Vision is a dead end for Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker, I feel like, is actually less over now than he was at the beginning of the year. I don't really see how it's benefited him. So I think transitioning him into a babyface turn, tweener, whatever you want to call it, that, to me, that's the only way to go. How they go about doing it, I don't know. but I think that's what he's going to need. That'll take the sting away from him losing this feud. I say that a lot about, like, any turn. If there's somebody who's about to turn heel, let's say, turn babyface, if they just lost a big match, but you know you're going to turn them, the loss doesn't matter, right? Turning can cure all ills in that regard. He just lost the blow off to Seth Rollins. If he's going to turn or have some sort of fallout with the Vision, and then who knows, maybe he can feud with Bronson Reed when Reed comes back, then this will be forgotten and he'll be better off for it. But we look at SummerSlam in Minneapolis, I don't know what he would be doing on that show. I honestly don't know. I don't know. But if Rollins is going to be challenging Roman Reigns for the World Championship, then this was the right decision to make. If Rollins is not challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, then I think this was a very dumb decision. And Braun Breaker should have won this match. I can't answer that question, though, 100% until I know what the direction is going to be with Rollins. But he finally puts the Vision in the rear view. Thank God. Thank God we're done. We're done. We're done with Rollins and the Vision. The MFTs just broke up. It feels to me like the world is healing, right? Don't you get that feeling? The world is healing bit by bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Twice Yearly Prep is here. One office visit every 6 months. 2 times a year for HIV.
Don't you get that feeling? The world is healing bit by bit. Trick Williams with Lil Yachty defending the United States Championship against Ricky Saints. Saints jumped Trick before the bell. On the floor, he went over to Lil Yachty. He grabbed his kendo stick. Grabbed it away from him. The referee's back was turned. And Saints smacked the ring steps with the kendo stick. And then he dropped to the ground. So when the referee turned around, right, the old Eddie Guerrero spot. So when the referee turned around, he thought that it was Lil Yachty who had attacked Ricky with the kendo stick, and he ejected Lil Yachty. See, this is a smart man, this Ricky Saints. Tricky Ricky. A smart heel. And then Ricky spent the majority of the match on offense, which was a big mistake. He spent the majority of the match in control. Trick was selling. This was not very exciting. The crowd was dead. They were D-E-A-D, dead for the majority of this match. Later on, Saints avoided a trick shot knee. He caught Williams with a tornado DDT. Saints came off the top with an elbow for a near fall. He countered out of a bookend. He hit a knee strike. Trick then ducked a clothesline, finally hit the trick shot out of nowhere for the pin to retain the title. After the match, Ricky tried to attack Trick from behind. Lil Yachty, though, suddenly reappeared in the ring, and he had his kendo stick with him. And Williams ended up dropping Ricky with a backhand, and then he had Yachty hit this great value version of a people's elbow. It's no Snoop Dogg. I'll say that. The match was mid. The match was mid. I thought the work here from Ricky was solid. I just don't understand the decision to have him take 80% of the match like that. You know, he was the heel who was talking a lot of smack and doing all this stuff heading into this match. It should have been a little more even. And they just opted to go like all Ricky, have Trick selling, and then boom, hit his finish out of nowhere. And that didn't help. And it made for a very boring match. I felt bad for these guys watching this, though. They weren't doing anything wrong. Trick didn't really do much in this match. He was mostly selling. He did his usual stuff. He didn't do anything to really impress me here. Ricky, I thought, again, his work was solid. But I felt bad for them watching this because, and you've heard me mention the crowd a few times, and he quickly got Cody back in the ring because you can't get a championship. That doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. My thought was that if Sami doesn't win the title, the SummerSlam match for him could be against Punk. You could do that as like a big undercard match at SummerSlam. But now, Sami is the champion. If Punk goes to SmackDown, how does he, fit into this? Does he fit into the title picture right away? Would they do Punk and Sami? Like, I don't know. Right? It's interesting. It's another kind of wrinkle in all this. Where does Gunther go from here? Gunther, I feel like, is in a similar boat to Braun Breaker on Raw, in that he took this loss, and on its own, it's not going to bury him, but he's in a very precarious position right now, where a lot of it is going to hinge on what this next step is for him. He just lost to Cody Rhodes 3 times, right? Technically, now, again, let's not even go back to Crown Jewel 2 years ago. Let's just look at Clash in Italy, SmackDown, and this match here on this show. He just went 0 for 3, back to back to back, in WWE title matches. Well, I guess technically four times, because they restarted the match on SmackDown last week. 0 for 4 since the end of May. In the span of a month, Gunther has now gone 0 for 4 in his quest to become WWE champion. That's pretty fucking terrible. And I now have no interest in seeing him pursuing the championship. He's got to move on to something else. Him going after Sami Zayn at Summer, I don't want to see that. I have no interest in that. So they've soured me on that, but I don't know where he goes from here. It's funny because many months ago, I don't know if it was on the prediction show, but many months ago I said, Ilya Dragunov being on SmackDown, we need to get Gunther on SmackDown. Actually, probably coming out of WrestleMania when I was talking about moving Gunther over, I think I floated that as a possibility. Like, man, how great would it be if they end up on the same brand? We could build to like a program between Gunther and Dragunov, and it doesn't even need to have a belt on.
LinkedIn can't make your boss less cringy, but we can help you find a new job.
Well, somewhat, Uzi. And then there is the WWE Championship. As overbooked as it was, what they did, I didn't hate it. It cost some K a bit longer. Because Cody Rhodes is not going and send this.
Or ref stoppage, and costing the two of them, unless you book them in a match with stakes, like the winner of this match faces whoever the fuck at WrestlePalooza or something like that. I don't know how you get to Cody and Punk now, although it feels like that match could happen without the worry of having a championship on the line and, what you do with those guys. So this really opens things up for SummerSlam. I like what they did tonight in terms of all of the matches. I was perfectly fine with everybody who won and lost. Predictions-wise, 4 matches right, 2 matches wrong. The 2 matches I got wrong were obviously the main event here with Sami Zayn, and I picked Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins wrong. I thought Breaker would have to win that one. But we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So what I'd like to hear from you guys, what you thought of the show. Give me your grades, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10. This went from a Saudi Arabia show that, was a nuisance. I had to get up at 10 o'clock in the fucking morning, to watch this. I didn't even see the first match. It took me a while to kind of get stirring. I turned on the TV in the bed and watched, the last 5 matches. And then had to circle back and watch the opening. But I was scrolling through Twitter. I knew who won and everything. So I was happy with the outcome of all of the matches. I think the right winners went over, specifically in the King and Queen of the Ring tournament finals, because we had 2 very big possibilities of disappointment here. Liv Morgan winning the tournament would have been stupid and annoying. It's dumb enough that she was in it. And Jey Uso, it was just nobody wants him to win the King of the Ring. And if it was going to be Jey and Cody, or, Jey and Sami might be a little bit more interesting than Jey and Cody, but I don't think the fans are really interested in either one of those options as it relates to Jey Uso. So, in terms of who won, who lost, no complaints from me. Even though I got a couple of matches wrong, I was predicting them. I wasn't telling you who I wanted to win. I was predicting who I thought would win. So me not getting predictions right doesn't mean I'm unhappy about it. I'm really happy with the outcome of these matches, and super stoked for Sami Zayn, who felt like he was cooling off. I mean, last year we were thinking way ahead. Oh, Sami Zayn's going to be a world champion next year. He's probably either going to have the big moment in the Royal Rumble in Saudi, or he's going to win the title at the following year's WrestleMania in Saudi. And when you look at the beginning of the year, all that stupid shit he was doing with Trick Williams, dressing up in a goddamn gingerbread costume, and we had candy canes and whatnot. It was ass. It was complete ass. And that wasn't even that long ago. Just a few months ago, a couple of months ago, matter of weeks ago. And here he is in Saudi Arabia, accomplishing a dream that he's been, striving to achieve, for the last 20 years almost. And he's come a long way. So I'm happy for Sami Zayn. Shocked, but pleasantly shocked that he won the championship, and really interested now in what this opens up for SummerSlam, and if Sami actually will be champion going into SummerSlam or not. Like I said, I'm very worried about Brock Lesnar now, because with Sami champion, unless you run, it's going to be him and Cody, I guess, for the title. But with Rollins and Reigns, it's all, we're not really sure. We're going to find out real quick, by the way, because SummerSlam's in just a month, and they're going to be hopefully answering a couple of questions as early as this Monday, as I believe we have a Raw and SmackDown double taping this coming Monday, because Monday's Raw is back here in the States, but it airs at a special time, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, and then I think they stick around and tape SmackDown as well, so the talent has the 4th of July off. So we could get some answers in the matter of the next 48 hours with some SummerSlam direction, but there's a couple of people that I'm not sure what they do. I don't know what Gunther might be wrestling Aldis. We'll talk about that. But, Cody, maybe Punk, but another guy is like someone like Braun Breaker. What the fuck does he do now? So we're going to get into all of it here in just a moment. I'm going to go over here to the chat, and then Sami takes the rest of the year to get himself back to Saudi Arabia to win the title for real this time and go on a run. That in itself could be a story. We will be finding out. I want to thank the Real Easy A for a very generous $20 drop there. Thank you, my friend. Mandami became mayor. Arsenal wins Premier League. Knicks win a championship. And right now is how I find out Sami wins the WWE title at dinner. And you cannot convince me that match is not happening. They wouldn't have gone through the trouble of setting all this up and having Brock come back and clash in Italy and then Oba calling him out on the mic every week and then not do the match at SummerSlam. It's happening at SummerSlam. So we've always been of the belief that if that match is going to happen at SummerSlam, the only way it can is for Obafemi to do double duty because he's going to win the King of the Ring. That has all now happened. Obafemi is King of the Ring. But because of the outcome in that main event tonight, that now puts the title on Sami Zayn, opening up the door for Brock Lesnar to potentially get a match against him on Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden. Imagine Brock beating Kofi in LA and Sami in Madison Square Garden for these championships. He's now champion, and that makes things real easy for Obafemi because he can say, I want you. I challenge you. Now, if that happens, the only problem with that scenario is that Saturday night's main event is just a couple of weeks away from SummerSlam. Or less than that even. I don't even know what the date on that SNME show is. Do we have it? July 18th. So it's going to be just like 2 weeks before SummerSlam. So that would have to come together very fast. Maybe they can make that match, and then Oba can be like, okay, I'm challenging, or I want to face the winner of Sami and Brock, and then Oba has to root for Brock. So that scenario, even though it's scary and it's out there, it might be a little bit difficult to execute. But and Roman Reigns and Oba is what I wanted to see. I thought Oba working Brock on night 1 and Reigns on night 2, and winning both of those matches would be one hell of a way to smash a dude over and rocket launch him to the fucking next universe over. But that might be a lot at once. Those are moments you might want to spread out or stretch out. But on the other hand of that, I say, why not have some fun? Why not do something you've never done before? And Obafemi, he seems to be on this exact same trajectory that Brock Lesnar was in 2002, debuting after Mania, winning the King of the Ring, and then going on to SummerSlam to beat the champ. And I thought Oba doing the same thing, winning the King of the Ring, Jey Uso being his RVD, and then going on to SummerSlam to face Rock's cousin, Roman, and beat him would be fabulous. But you got to think about the Brock Lesnar thing and the possibility of Rollins facing Roman and how they're going to do all of this on TV. You know, if the plan is to do Rollins and Roman, you know, then maybe Oba, I don't know what the hell. I feel like Oba's not just going to stay silent. You know, on Raw, they're going to expect to hear who he wants to challenge. And Roman is supposed to be on the show. So I feel like Roman and Oba could have a face-off on Monday night. And that would be a great place for Brock to show up or something and attack him right there. And then you almost have like Brock and Roman, you know, side by side. Like, how crazy would that be? You know, sometimes Brock was a face, Roman was a heel. Sometimes Roman's a heel, Brock is a face. And this time, both of them being like on the same page would be.
Well, might well end the video. I made this long enough. Hit that like button, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Until next time, I will see y'all later. Yeah, I'm gonna end the video. I'm not sure about do AEW, maybe on Monday, like once I do the Monday Night Raw review, then I'll talk about AEW Forbidden Door. But until then, I'll see y'all later.